so good to be here. And this morning I'm speaking on change. I wanted to have the choir practice being flexible, so that's why I changed the song at the very last minute. The focus of this talk on change is really from moving from fearing change to embracing change. Because change is really such a catalyst for transformation, isn't it? Change is a catalyst for spiritual growth and spiritual awakening and transformation. And I've had a lot of change, golly, a lot of change the last 6 months. One of the changes I noticed is in my tax refund. I haven't gotten it. Anybody else still waiting for their tax refund?
I checked yesterday and they're sending out ours May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Should get it before May 31st.
Okay, glad to hear that. Thank you, Terry.
So
Thank
just
you,
you
Terry.
go online and check.
Well, I read a funny story the other day about this man who wrote a letter to the IRS because he was not able to sleep for a whole entire year because he had not paid his taxes. So he wrote this letter and he sent a check for $2,000. And at the close of the letter, he said, "Now, if I still can't sleep, I'll send the rest."
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
It's a joke. Life is change. Growth is optional. Choose wisely. So it's an old saying, a wise saying. Life is change, isn't it? Growth, though, is optional. We get to choose. We get to choose how we meet change. You know, change tends to shake us up. It really tends to push us to grow. And on one level, change is always happening, like with our bodies. That was such a beautiful reading about Myrtle Fillmore's healing. And one of the things that she was aware of was how the body renews itself. The body creates 200 billion red blood cells every day. Isn't that just genius? I mean, the genius of the body is just astounding to me. You know, healing is possible when you realize that our body is renewing itself every day. 200 billion new red blood cells. It's so inspiring. And then, you know, there's other changes in the body we notice. Gravity, you know, gravity happens. But some of the changes we hardly notice, you know, and some changes we do meet with fear. We meet with trepidation, some of the bigger changes in our lives. So I really want to look at how we meet change on all levels. Change of the body, change in our circumstances, change in our health, change in our life. I want to look at how we meet that. Creatures of habit, that's what human beings are. But we're not just human beings, we are spiritual beings too. But the creature in us loves routine, it loves stability, it loves our little hovels, our little homes, our little routines that we do every day. That's what we call getting grounded, right? We love to be grounded. And if we do have change, we like change in small doses. And we like to choose our process of letting go for letting go, right? Versus having our house burned down, you know. We like our changes to be that our situation gets better, right? And we like our changes to be that our situation gets more amenable to our well-being. But when life brings us a change that makes our life more challenging, we tend to resist it. We tend to fear it. And it makes us feel insecure. And that's natural to the animal part in us. And so I chose this subject because these last 6 months, since I lost my home in the campfire, have just been full of so much change. So many constant changing circumstances, most of them challenging. What has helped me most? This is something I was talking with my friend last week on a long walk on. What has helped me most is that I trust life. And I think I said this to you back when the campfire happened. No matter what I really realized from that experience is that I trust life. I trust life implicitly. And I was sharing this with my friend on our walk, and he said, that sounds like surrender. That sounds like spiritual surrender. And I said, it is, actually. It is. It's a surrender to life, because I know life is good. I know life is benign. I know, like as Einstein said, this is a benign universe. And I know that the source of everything is love. The source of everything is love. And so I trust love. I trust love. I trust that love will get me through. And the reason that I chose this serenity prayer to sing this morning is it has so much wisdom in those 3 lines. It is such an amazing prayer, full of so much wisdom. It expresses that delicate balance in the play of both surrendering to what life brings and also using our creative power to create what we want life to bring. And, you know, our creative power, how is our creative power expressed? You tell me. How do we express our creative power? First, we have a desire, right? We have a desire, and then we use our thoughts, and we bring in positive emotions, and we raise our vibration. Did somebody say that? We raise our vibration. And that's how we create our reality. But one of the things that I think begs our attention that this prayer is really about is that capacity to discern what we can change and what we can't change. Because sometimes I think we don't know. We really aren't sure, you know, what we can change and what we can't change and how much we can change it. So you probably heard that I had to move out of my last little studio last month. It's a long story, I'll try to make it really short, but they were cooking drugs over the fence and the smoke was coming into my house and it was making me sick, so I had to leave. And I was praying for them, but my prayers, well, they might just be delayed, right? So at one point I came to church and did Sunday service March 24th, and then I went home and I was just feeling really bad, and a friend called and they said, just get out of there and come up to Mount Shasta. So I drove up right then and there. And the next morning I had a really high fever. And I had a high fever for about 4 days, and I had a really bad lung infection. Carolyn heard me during that phase. But one night with that high fever, I was feeling kind of delirious, but I was really getting in a funk. And I was just feeling like life is hard, and I was really focusing on what wasn't working. And I just was, you know, kind of spiraling down. I was just in a really bad space, and I went, I know better than this. I can't stay in this space, right? And so I prayed, and the guidance was, put on some Abraham Hicks videos, you know, because I was trying to write a talk on change and embracing change, and my mind was on fire, and I was just, I couldn't. So I put on some Abraham Hicks videos on how we create reality. And then I got in the tub with Epsom salts, and I left the door open so I could hear the video. And one of the first things that she said that helped me so much was, this is just so simple, but I think we need to hear this every day. Take your attention off what you don't want. Take your attention off what you don't want. It's so simple. But do you know how much time we spend on what we don't want and what we don't like? How much attention during one single day we put on that? It's fascinating to examine your mind and become a witness and watch your mind, because we spend too much attention on what we don't want. So I did. I took my attention off what wasn't working and what I didn't want. And I got still. That was her next bit of guidance. Get still, get empty, meditate, open, pray. Do your spiritual practice. So there I was in my Epsom salt, hot bath. And I was empty, and I was still, and I truly started to feel my vibration totally shift. And I felt a flood of light, and then, you know, I heard her say, okay, now create what you want. You know, create thoughts of what you want to create, be specific, and let it inspire feelings. Let it inspire the emotions of the joy that you feel in that creation. And so I did. I really worked on what I want to create, and I could see it, and I could feel it in a happy, safe home, a place I felt healthy. And I just worked on that, and then I felt what she says you feel when you're successful, and that is, I just felt a real shift. I felt joy. I felt this is even fun, you know, I'm actually having fun. And it was just a dramatic shift from the state that I began in. And so I went to bed that night, and the next morning I woke up and my fever was gone. And within about 2 weeks, I had a wonderful place in Chico to live. Thank you, God. And also a place in Mount Shasta and a place in Ashland. It's like, you know, I did the work and the universe flooded me with gifts. The universe comes through that way. So to review, we get still. We raise our vibration. We put our attention on what we want to create, and we let ourselves feel more positive emotions. Okay? So let's examine the wisdom of the Serenity Prayer line for line. The first line states, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So I was contemplating that. I was wondering, what can we really not change? Other people. Okay, well, I thought about that, and I thought about, you might say you can't change your little brother who chooses to still drink, right? Who is a chronic alcoholic. But when I thought about that, I thought maybe you can change them. Maybe you can change them even a little. Maybe your prayers every night, seeing him healthy, seeing him sober, seeing him choosing a healing path, maybe that makes a difference. Maybe that means he drinks a few less beers every week. So maybe we do make more difference than we believe. I think of, you know, we can't change the weather, but then I wonder about that, because I was talking last week about how, you know, Jesus set the example. You can even overcome death. You can live maybe 200, 500 years. I mean, if we're living the teachings, if we're trusting that we are with God and all things are possible, then even overcoming death, well then probably we could move mountains. Well, what about the scripture? If you could just have the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move, and nothing would be impossible for you. Can we believe that? Can we let go of our naysaying habit? Maybe somebody else, maybe Jesus, but not me, right? Maybe the Buddha, but not me. Can we let go of that and embrace our divine heritage and open to the possibility that we are less limited than we might believe? Just for a moment. Just for a moment. Just let your mind expand and just believe in any possibility for yourself. Come on, do it. Come on, people now.
We're unlimited.
That's right, and you feel a shift. You feel a shift in this whole room when you do that. When we collectively go, we are less limited than we think. And for this moment, we're going to believe that. We're going to stop being a doubting Thomas, okay? We love stories about overcoming, don't we? We love stories about overcoming. We're so inspired about stories that inspire us that we shall overcome. And they usually involve dramatic change. Have you read the book Dying to Be Me? I've mentioned it before, Dying to Be Me.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
This woman, Anita Morjani, she had stage 4 cancer, and she was down to 80 pounds. It had been 4 years, and she was about to die. And they took her one night to the hospital, and she went into a coma, and she had a near-death experience. And in this experience, she just merged into unlimited love and unlimited light, and she saw so clearly. You get that life review, and she saw that she was living in fear, that just every day she was just driven by fear. She was afraid to be herself. She was denying herself. She was actually trying to escape herself, you know, and she was trying to please others, and she was really driven by fear. And she saw that her healing journey depended on her loving herself just to the core of her being, her loving and accepting herself to the core of her being, and her sharing her heart and her soul and and her wisdom with the world without fear. And she saw that she had a choice. She could leave or she could come back. And she chose to come back. And she was so dramatically changed that within 2 weeks, all her tumors were gone. And the doctors thought, wow, what a miracle. I've never seen anything like it. And so now, and I think she's got another book out, but it's just an amazing story, and she really saw that it was living from a place of fear that made her sick. And I think it makes us all sick, whether it manifests as cancer. Living from fear is a sickness, and it's a sickness our society needs to heal. When you were asking for prayers, I just am so heartbroken that all these places of worship are being targeted. People want to heal, they want to feel spirit, they want to commune with God, and they're being targeted. And I was like, why? It's fear. It's people's intolerance of something they don't understand and don't accept because they're afraid of it. And so my prayer is greater tolerance. My prayer is that this world lives from the heart, and we open our hearts, and collectively as humanity we open our hearts and we allow people to worship as they choose. We allow them to find their way to God, to their God. That's my prayer. So then there's that next line of the Serenity Prayer, give me the courage to change the things I can. What is courage? You tell me. What's courage?
Overcoming fear.
What is that?
Overcoming fear.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, overcoming fear. I looked it up. Webster says the ability to do something that frightens one. Isn't that exactly what he said, overcoming fear? The ability to do something that frightens one. Strength in the face of pain or grief. Strength in the face of pain or grief. That's what we who lost everything in the campfire have had to dig deep to find. We've had to dig deep to find courage, and that's what every one of us every day has to find, because I know your stories here, and every one of us in this room has challenges. Some are pretty big. Sometimes life is hard and circumstances are hard and we feel defeated, and that's when we need to have courage. I found a quote so beautiful from Deuteronomy 31, verse 6 says, be strong and brave. Be strong and brave. Be strong and brave. Don't be afraid. Don't be frightened. The Lord your God will go with you. He will not leave you. The Lord our God, the God of our being, it never leaves us. That presence, that love, that intelligence is here. It's always here with us. It's a matter of getting ourselves out of the way and opening to that presence. So it's like a tailwind. The tailwind when you're in a plane, you get from Maui back to the mainland faster because there's a tailwind. And spirit is like a tailwind. It's always supporting us towards our destination. It's supporting us towards our highest good. It is always for us. It is always for us. So there's that next line, give me the wisdom to know the difference between what I can change and cannot change. Perhaps the one thing we can't change is the past. Or I can't change that my house burned down. I can't change that paradise burned down and that those people are scattered all over the place. But what I can perhaps change is my view of the experience. And it has been changing. It's been really fascinating to watch that over time my view has changed. And I really feel like paradise, it might take quite a while, but I feel like it might become an amazing place. Like in 10 or 15 years, it might be the jewel of Butte County. Would you hold that vision with me? I love that. I love that thought. But when we think of the world and all its problems, we wish maybe we could change it more, but I think we can, and I think we do, by living a life of faith, by having courage, by choosing to be kind and loving and forgiving, and by offering our understanding, by offering our kindness and understanding. I think simply being still more, being calm more, that is adding a healing energy to this frantic, chaotic, energy of the world right now. And I think that this world would be just a little less beautiful without each one of us bringing what we bring from our heart and from our spirit and from our love. So thinking about, this 6-month anniversary we're coming upon with the campfire, I think many of us are at a place where we're able to finally feel a sense of new beginnings. And not to discount or not acknowledge that some people are still suffering, and suffering a lot. But I think a lot of people are rebuilding, and it's very inspiring, and I feel that in myself. There's another quote I love from Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 18 and 19. It says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. I'm bringing the waters of life to where it's been dead, to where it's been dry. I'm finally getting to a place where I am actually, in a way, I'm so glad that all that stuff I had in boxes in the garage burned down, I mean, some of that stuff, Ray can attest to it. I mean, I had boxes I've been moving for 30 years. I haven't opened in 30 years. It's like, so glad I don't have to deal with that. It's actually kind of a relief. I do miss some of those pictures. There are some precious pictures that I'll never see again. But my mom's got pictures, and she wants to spend some time. Let's go through. So I'm getting to a place where it's actually kind of fun in some ways to recreate everything. Recreate my wardrobe, recreate my kitchenware, my artware, my furniture, my jewelry, my piano. Piano's a different color, it's got a different sound, all of it. So when we can cultivate equanimity, it's a kind of unattachment to things changing. That keeps us from suffering from all the change. My body has definitely had its suffering from all the moving, but my mind is incredibly grateful because I keep having shelter, I keep having good food, I keep having love in my life. I have this place, I love you all, I love being here, and I'm grateful. Pema Chodron, she says, "Is it possible to increase our tolerance for instability and change? Can we make friends with unpredictability and uncertainty and embrace them as vehicles of transformation?" Yeah, can we take that uncertainty and that instability and embrace it as a vehicle to transform us? This is not a static universe. It's always new, just like our red blood cells every day. It's always changing. Wanting it to stay the same is like wanting the sun to rise but not set. This is not going to work. So in closing, consider trusting that all the changes in life, all the changes, not just the ones we like, not just the ones that are easy and preferred, but all the changes have a blessing for us. Change has a way to bless us with a new experience, a new view, a new consciousness. And we can gain wisdom and find serenity through it all if we can trust it, if we can surrender to what life is bringing. Our spirit will shine. It'll shine with beauty, with wisdom. So please remember, this is a benign and loving universe. Of that I am certain. May we accept what we cannot change with grace, but may we know we can change more than we think, and may we trust and open to the power that makes everything possible. Thank you.
Amen.
Love you.